10.2-4. One sample proportion confidence interval proportion day 4. I want to talk about the difference between a sample versus a parameter. So, just to reiterate, a sample is the data collected, okay? Same thing that we've been writing every single time. Sample is the data collected we know what a sample outcome is p hat. Past tense
okay, guys, we're doing notes. I see like
refers to the sample. So what I'm referring to here, what I really want to reiterate to you is that when we take a sample and we know what the results of that sample are. We know how many people say yes and how many people say no in our sample. We know what the p hat is. The p hat is basically past tense because it is known. It was collected. So when you use past tense, it tells us, myself and Ms. Page, that you're referring to the sample. Parameter. Come on. Parameter. The population parameter is unknown. All right? We are using a sample to infer about a parameter. In this case, the parameter is P. Okay? We don't know what P is. We don't know what the true proportion of students who skip class or the true proportion of students who come to school late. Whatever it is that we're trying to measure, we don't know what it is. It's unknown. This is the reason why. We take a sample and we use that sample to infer, to deduce what the population is going to be. Current / future tense refers to the parameter. So we had this question yesterday. In yesterday's problem, we collected data about, we wanted to know about teens who text and drive. Okay? Come on, off. This is the reason why. So we collected a sample and we found out in that sample how many students said they texted and drove. That's all past tense, which means it's referring to the sample. Yes. What do we want to know about? We want to know about the percentage, a proportion of teens who text and drive. That's referring to the part of the notes. Purpose of confidence intervals. The purpose of a confidence interval is to create an interval with a given percentage from a sample to estimate a lower and upper boundary, that's what an interval is, of the blank, the parameter. And the reason I'm saying this here, remember, do not use past tense. Do not use past tense. So when you're doing today's problems, and this is the same thing about when you're interpreting the confidence interval, or in the first question that we're going to ask you, we're going to say, so what is the question asking you to do? The question is going to be asking you to create an interval from a sample to estimate the lower and upper boundary of, and there's a way, this is just another way of saying it, of whatever it is. So like in yesterday's problems is to create a confidence interval for an upper, lower, and upper boundary for the proportion of teens who text and drive. Because we don't know and the reality is, will we ever be able to find the true answer? Is it possible to find the real answer to the percentage, the proportion of students, or I'll just say percentage of teens who text and drive? Can you find that? No, it's impossible. One, you can't catch everybody, right, that does it. Two, as we talked about at the end of class yesterday, people lie. There's a lot of people, there's some response bias in that they're not going to tell you the truth. And if they do text and drive, and in order to find the real answer, you'd have to find every single teen who drives, every teen in the entire United States who drives, and confirm if they text and drive at any point in time. Basically, it's impossible. And that's the reason why we're doing this unit. This is the reason why. Statistics is a lot of built around this final concept, to try to find answers for which it is impossible to find answers to. You cannot find the answer of the percentage of teens who text and drive. But we can come up with a good estimate. But we also know that just saying we have to understand every sample is going to give us different results. So when we take a sample, again, our results are only as good as our sample. So we have to check those conditions. If we don't have a random sample, if our sample is biased, that's bad, right? If our sample does not follow a normal distribution and we're trying to use a normal distribution, that's bad. So it's important to check those conditions. Now that I've added this, I'm going to open up the rest of the slides. Myself and Ms. Page really just want to focus on you on being able to do these and do the slide question. So that's what I have for you.